Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Full Metal Cast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Before getting started in this week's episode, though, you might realize recording in a different area. This is actually my kitchen slash living room in my very small apartment. But I wanted to film out here strictly because of the metal print I have out here. As you may or may not know, I started this brand, this company, as Full Metal Humidors, strictly focusing in the cigar space, making cigar humidors out of surplus 50 cal ammo cans. I still do those today. They are still for sale. Um, and the reason why I wanted to film out here in front of this print is that the woman in this print, Sin Coburn, co-founder and face of the Dissident Cigars brand, um, recently has run into a bit of a scare with cancer. She's been posting about it on her socials. I won't go into the details. You please give her a follow. Please, catch up on her scenario. Reach out, let her know you're thinking of her if you feel comfortable doing so. But I'm doing this because as I started, venturing off on my own to work for myself, setting up Full Metal Humidors, navigating the impossible space of marketing and advertising on social media, especially in the tobacco world, and now finding a similar struggle in the gun space, she took it upon herself to really help expand my reach and do promotion, do advertising, posting, whether on their own account with just my brand or implementing my brand with other brands of their own, and doing this all without any exchange of money. Did this out of the kindness of their hearts. And so I owe an incredible debt to Mr. and Mrs. Coburn. And as she goes forth to battle or potentially battle this disease, she's going to have to go under the knife to get some tumors removed. I wanted to, put that out there because this is all I'm able to do for them currently as I work on building my brand. I've reached out. I let them know that I am praying for them and that I'm always here for them should they need anything. And if you feel comfortable doing so, please let them know that the Full Metal family has their back. But again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to this little intro before the video. But let's jump into it. We are always complaining that our days are few and acting as though there would be no end of them. Seneca. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Full Metal Cast. I am your host, Moors Walker, and this week's going to be a little bit different. I was toying with a topic that I wanted to cover, but it ended up not being fully put together. I actually recorded it earlier in the week, and before I even went through to listen to it and edit it, I knew it was too thin. So I scrapped it. I'm recording now on the same day I'm going to be publishing this episode. But there's been a number of headlines, a couple of topics that have popped up in the news or current events or whatever you will, that I think are worth sort of going over. And I'll go ahead and just share my opinion, what's going on in the world today and other things that may have caught my attention or other thoughts that have really popped into my head. The first one, the latest bit of news that just came across, this weekend, this is September 10th as I'm recording this, is New Mexico's governor, I believe it was, banning the concealed and open carry of firearms based on 2021 crime statistics via an emergency health order, which the whole thing is so completely stupid. So if you're not caught up, and I could pull up the article, but I'm not going to go through all the numbers. Basically, the governor came out and said if there are X number of violent crimes per 100,000 residents in a certain city or county, the citizens are banned from open or concealed carrying their firearms unless it is on private property or they're locked away in a box or have a trigger lock on them. So, in solidarity with Arizona today, we are going to be carrying, although I have my own private property, we are going to be carrying the Chiapa Rhino on us through this episode. I'm actually just going to live out here because it's too much of a pain in the ass to put back in the shoulder holster that they make. Fuck New Mexico, fuck your governor. I know she was actually fielding questions because batshit crazy as she is. I don't know who would ever put their face out there after passing such a stupid, blatant act of treason. was actually fielding questions to which she fully acknowledged that this order is not going to stop criminals from carrying. But I believe her exact words were, it will send a very distinct message to those communities where the residents are no longer able to carry. So I don't know what type of message she's trying to send, but it's pretty clear she doesn't give a shit about the resident safety there. So if you're in New Mexico, I am so sorry. The good news is you are bordered by Arizona and Texas, which, as I believe, are pretty chill states as it comes to gun rights. At least I know Texas is. I want to say Arizona might be, just given by the number of people I've heard on podcasts and accounts I follow who live out there. Um, but yeah, maybe go vote with your dollars and move them out of state, as I'm sure the federal government helps to deteriorate the integrity of your state, especially as you share a border with our southern neighbors. Um, and I'm not going to beat that one with a dead horse. I've already talked about this how criminals just don't give a shit about the laws anyway. So they're going to kill people, they're going to kill people. And that's just that. And that might actually lead into another point I have on here. I'm recently in a group chat, actually. So Finance and Maneuver, if you don't follow them, stupendous social media presence, an excellent brand, putting out excellent stuff. Created group chats in Telegram channels for different states as well as regions in the US where they have a following. The Midwest region is a part of the chat that I'm in, or the chat that I'm a part of. And in it, there was a little bit of a back and forth about feds no knocking people, half joking, half not. Um, and it sort of brought me back to a point that the T Rex Arms guys made in their podcast while following the special session in Tennessee, where they made the point of the feds, the police, whoever it may be, have no interest in going after the cartels who are cutting people's heads off for fun. They have no interest in really going after the criminals that are shooting each other in the streets every day. Shout out Chicago, shout out, wherever the fuck this is happening in your urban area. You see it every day. There's plenty of rules against this stuff, yet there's so much looting, there's still violent crimes, there's still shootings, etc., etc. So many laws against this. However, nothing is being done to stop the regular offenders that are doing this just blatantly. Instead, it is much easier for the government, for the feds, for the police, for whoever it is, to kick down the door of the law abiding citizen who keeps their guns in a safe, who keeps their guns, locked up, who practice, responsible gun ownership, because that individual isn't out there just ready to recklessly, discharge their weapon or take another life. It's so much easier to kick open the non-threatening target store to boost your numbers and prove that you are helping or prove that you are, worth whatever in incomprehensible price tag comes with keeping your stupid department open. And that sort of tracks, I think. Yes, we are the easy targets, those who are responsible, those who take their gun ownership very seriously. We are, unfortunately, the easy targets when we really shouldn't be. But that's just the reality of the matter. The good news is, though, there is not nearly enough of them to be a serious problem for us. The only reason, or the only way realistically for them to become a problem for us, is if we blatantly jump on Facebook and start threatening us. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up. Obviously, I'm shouting out the Finance and Maneuver chats. It's a great way to start talking to people, who you may be around. I know a couple of communities have already planned some meetups. I've thrown some ideas out for the Midwest one. We're trying to get some of the guys together, maybe for a range day, maybe just for a bonfire or a rock or a hiking trip, just to get to know each other first. Again, you are online. You do not know these people. I know they are coming from a very cool account, but don't don't get spicy. Don't post felonies. Don't post crimes in the chat. I'm not assuming that you are doing them, but just know that not everyone on there is going to be as like-minded as you. They may just be pretending to be, if there might just be some glowy boys in the chat, we'll just say. So always be cognizant of that, remain cognizant of that. But I still do fully endorse joining one of these chats. Expand your reach, expand your community. There's been some great discussions that have taken place, whether it just be about guns, about life, about philosophy, whatever it is. It's very, very cool to have that sort of outlet. So definitely check it out, or reach out to me if you can't find it on their socials. Let me know, and I'll try to plug you guys in with where they posted the links for each of those Telegram channels. Um, what else happened? Liberty Safe. Unfortunately, this is just an obligatory one. I know this has been beaten with a dead horse. Liberty Safe just handed over the general override code for all of their safes to the FBI, who had a search warrant for an individual customer of Liberty Safe. They didn't have any paperwork, any court order directly pointed at Liberty Safe, which would make them obligated to hand over the code. The feds just came calling and they said, oh, yeah, sure, here's a general code for all of our safes. And then on top of that, they doubled down on their action. They never said we shouldn't have done that. This was one idiot's mistake. They doubled down on it. They backed that idiot, or they backed their decision. And then to add insult to injury, to pretend as if we are stupid, to pretend as though they are helping, they created a request form where you can go on their website and request that they delete your code. But it wasn't the individual's specific gun safe code they handed out. It was the general override code for all Liberty safes, or at least maybe the safe of that model is my understanding of it. It wasn't the individual's private customized code. It was a general manufacturer's code that they just handed over to the FBI without any fucking actual legal obligatory reason to do so. So similar to residents in New Mexico, vote with your dollars. I don't know why you would trust a company whose entire purpose is to protect one of the most dangerous, not dangerous, very valuable things that are capable of causing great harm that you want to keep safe only for your use. I would not trust them with my money because they just hand out their manufacturer override codes without any legal reason to do so. So vote with your dollars. Fuck Liberty Safe. Buy anything else. That's reputable, obviously. Don't buy some cheap piece of shit that you can just pry open with a pry bar. But don't buy Liberty Safe either because they're just feds at this point, really. Oh yeah, and the guy who had the warrant to have his house and his safe searched, he was there at Jan 6. Like he wasn't some crazy serial killer. He wasn't even a violent criminal. He was practicing his, First Amendment right. And yeah, he was let into the. I'm not going to get into that. He's fine. He wasn't some crazy thing. This is just the FBI pulling their dick out and showing everyone how huge it is and how great and effective and useful they are when they're just dog killers at the end of the day. Um, Liberty Safe. Let's go back on the appliance. The banning of regular everyday appliances. So the electric car push. That's been a thing for a while now. I haven't really shared all of my thoughts on it other than if you want an electric car, cool. If you think you're saving the planet, you're an idiot. Forcing everyone to get an electric car is also extremely retarded. So electric cars, I've talked about the banning of light bulbs. I've talked about the banning of gas stoves, pizza ovens in New York, and now ceiling fans. Yep, they are banning the sale of inefficient ceiling fans, I guess, which is just crazy because like everything that's going on right now, why do we have everything buttoned up that nicely to where our government can now go, all right, all is good with the world, all is right, Americans are happy, fuck their ceiling fans, make sure that the only ceiling fans they can buy are super expensive, energy efficient ones now. That's what's going to happen. All that this is going to do is make ceiling fans more expensive, and it's going to do nothing towards climate change. It's going to do nothing towards meeting their goals. All that it is a look good policy, which is all their policies have been recently, which is why they're just one of the reasons, many reasons why they're all just geriatric jokes. Um, but yeah, all of the manufacturers that are currently making ceiling fans, which the purpose of a fan is to be efficient, so you're not using AC or heat. It can help push that cool or warm air up or down or throughout your house. Like that's the entire purpose of a fan. So those that aren't efficient enough in the eyes of no doubt people who have no idea what the fuck they're talking about are then forced to scrap their inventory or amend it to meet whatever arbitrary, likely unrealistic standard is being set by these idiots in office. And that was just going to come with huge costs to completely change their manufacturing process, to completely change their business model. So all that's going to do is make ceiling fans more expensive for the end consumer who is looking to get a ceiling fan to be more energy efficient. It's completely, sorry, I didn't mean to hit the mic there. It is completely retarded. But just like every other appliance and thing that's being banned in the name of green, it's no different. It gets hit with the exact same label of lacking of common sense. Um, so I guess we can make another, come and take it flag with ceiling fans, light bulbs, pizza ovens, gas stoves, whatever it is, add it to the pile. Um, the UK actually, this one brought a smile to my face. I was at the 9 to 5. I was at work. I was reading up on it, and the UK are showing the Brits, baby, are showing a little bit of a rebellious streak. So if you're not caught up, there are these ultra low emission zones popping up around the UK, the ULEZs. And what these zones are is that there are cameras in these zones, and what these cameras do is they identify people as they drive through these zones. And if you are driving through one of these zones without a state approved, like efficient vehicle or whatever, you get ticketed with a $16 ticket. I don't know if that's in pounds or in dollars. It was like $15.99. I'm assuming it was a dollar conversion. I could be wrong. But let's just say it's a $16 ticket. If you don't pay that ticket, I don't know what the window is to pay it. It's a $300 late fee then. And so what's been happening, despite the Brits being cucked as Canada, they have destroyed over 90% of these cameras in these zones, and that's pretty fucking base. To put that into perspective, that's over 300 cameras have been stolen or broken, according to reports, and that's fucking sick. Taking a page out of the French book, I believe they did something to speed cameras on their freeways. They blocked the freeways and went just down, just tearing down, destroying all the speed cameras, which is based as fuck, and I love that. I really don't like Britain. I hate the British, but you know what? I'll give it up. That's pretty fucking cool, and we should keep that in mind a lot, as well as what the French do whenever their rights are, that's what I'm looking for here. When their rights are sort of trampled over, and remember what we might have to do when things go a little too far, but also to keep in mind what we should do before things get too far to prevent us having to destroy cameras, speed cameras, ultra low emission zone cameras, whatever it may be. Let's prevent that from getting to that point, but also know that that is absolutely an option when it is intolerable. A little spicy, but fuck it. Let's stay on the anti-tyranny updates, if you will. Um, Talk of the Wuhan flu coming back with an election. I saw BLM's also back in action just in time for the election too. So those two, the best gay marriage to ever happen, I suppose. Um, but as schools are closing, or as they are going to be completely remote, or as mask mandates come back, I think there's a Pennsylvania and a Maryland school now have like mask mandates again, and there are state paid actors that are pretending to protest like normal civilians, crying out for mask mandates to come back when nobody wants that. But as the debates, or it's not much of a debate, but as talks of mandates come back, as news, as more headlines about the Wuhan flu coming back, I wanted to arm you with this. I think it's important to have as many tools in our toolkit as possible when it comes to pushing back in a factual, in a debate sort of setting, before just resulting to fuck you no, because fuck you no is an absolutely valid excuse. I also want to make sure that we can come across as intelligent when when these topics come up. But it was the National Institute of Health and the National Institute of Ecotoxicology and Environmental Safety. What institutes? They both published a study that was done by the Jeonbuk National University of Korea. I don't think I pronounced that right, but it's a Korean university that found prolonged wear of medical grade disposable masks. So the N95s, the KN95s, the KF94s, the FFP2s, etc. I gotta stop hitting that. All these masks release 8 times the recommended safe limit of toxic volatile organic compounds, or TVOCs. TVOCs in the masks are known to cause headaches, nausea, organ damage, and cancer. Whoa, okay. So let me get this right. The masks do nothing. Plenty of doctors have proven they've done nothing. In fact, you can grab 5 of your stupid fucking masks, put them all over each other, all over your mouth and your nose, pull out a pair of like glasses. It could be a glass cup, it could be eyeglasses, sunglasses, whatever it is, and try to fog them up. You will be able to fog up that glass, compare it to the other lens if you're using glasses, or compare it to another glass if you're holding, an actual drinking glass. You'll be able to fog that up. even through 5 disposable masks. And the molecules that you are breathing out that are used to fog up the glass are like 10, or I don't know what the number is, exponentially larger than the actual or sorry, I got to censor that out. Wuhan flu molecules. Same goes for vaping or smoking cigarettes or a cigar. Do inhale if you're a smoker. If not, I'm not telling you to smoke, only if you already are doing so. Inhale, mask up 5, 10, however many times you fucking want, and then exhale. It will go right through that mask, not out the top, not out the sides, not out the bottom, but it'll go straight through that mask. Even if you completely seal it over your face, it's going to go right through. And those molecules are exponentially larger than the actual molecules coming off of your breath to fog up eyeglasses, whatever you use in that other experiment. So they're useless. They've been proven to be useless. They do absolutely nothing other than make people feel good. And there's also another compliance and propaganda aspect to it, but I won't dive into that. So on top of being useless, they are now actually harmful. So now you have that in your back pocket. You can throw that back and say, fuck you, no, I'm not doing all this shit to myself. They don't work. I can demonstrate to you how they don't work. I'm not doing it. Go fuck yourself. And then on top of that, as if the mask thing wasn't enough, there's also talk about a certain medical intervention. I'm not going to say the word as well, not being effective at all. And so actually what happened was the CDC, ICanDecide.org, and the Epic Times were cited as the sources, but the Gray Man Briefing, the Telegram news channel that I subscribe to monthly, which gives me sort of the news on a national or international level, showed that the CDC, or I Can Decide through a Freedom of Information Act, basically found that a study was done by the DoD and maybe another company or another organization that found that the vaccines were extremely ineffective, that they were doing nothing, and that most of the COVID cases or Wuhan flu cases that were coming in were all of vaccinated individuals, and that the actual efficacy rate was somewhere around 30%, I believe. The CDC, upon receiving this report from the DoD, completely ignored it and said we need to start focusing on boosters and second round stuff and other things. So they completely have ignored reports that have come in from other government agencies about the efficacy of the intervention they've been pushing, and said just push more of it, just push more of the big profit things that we all have an interest in, whether it be through patents, whether it be through royalties, whether it be through stock interest. And that's just a fact. If you haven't read the book by RFK Jr., this isn't me saying I'm going to vote for him. This isn't me saying I support him politically. He wrote the Bible, as far as I'm concerned, regarding the past 3 or 4 years in this country and what happened, as well as what the main issues are, or, well, not even the main issues, just what the pharmaceutical industrial complex really is and how fucked it really is. He wrote the Bible on that. It is the most factual book I've ever read. It has more references than anything I've ever read, and it's updated daily. There's QR codes at the end of every chapter. You can go in and see all the updated references, all the updated figures and stats. He did it. He put it together very, very well. I highly recommend you read it. But anyways, fuck masks, fuck whatever medical intervention they're pushing. And the only thing I need to do to tell you that those are a joke is that look what's happening to ivermectin. The thing that was shunned, the thing that was smeared so quickly is now able to be prescribed. Even after it was, they actually destroyed stockpiles of it, after they threatened to remove medical licenses for doctors who did prescribe it or funding for those who prescribed it, after the entire smear campaign they did, just so Pfizer could create something that is close enough but just slightly different to renew the patent, basically. That new drug they pushed out wasn't effective enough. So now they have to go back and say, yes, in fact, they can actually prescribe the original one. That's how much of a failure they were. And that's how effective the original intervention is. So fuck them. They've gotten nothing right. You have no reason to listen to anybody telling you to do anything that hasn't worked over the past 4 years. And if they do, that's a tyrant. Do what you have to do to step over them. See the T-Rex arms thing, ceiling fans. Oh yeah. This was interesting, especially as I see Mr. Newsom thinking he has a fucking shot at the national level, given the sterling track record that he has at the state level, ranking first out of all cities, or cities at least in the Redfin data, of homeowners who sell their homes for a loss most common and for the highest amount, the highest loss, is San Francisco. 1 in 8 San Francisco homeowner sellers are losing money, averaging about a $100,000 loss on the homes that they sell. And they are leading the nation, like I said, in this. I don't think I need to tell you why, but I think it is funny to note that all of the articles, especially the Redfin article, because Redfin's a bit of a joke, refuse to point to, let's say, the subpar culture, the subpar living conditions out in public, and the crime stats of the area. It has everything to do with interest rates and inflation. I'm sure climate change was also thrown around in there as well, but no, it couldn't be the piss poor legislation, the crime, the homelessness that was a direct result of your shitty fucking governor. So keep that in mind. That's a real dollar value that trickles down to those who voted or didn't vote for him, but who were forced to be subjected to his policies. And the entire oath, his entire purpose is to serve those people within his border to better their lives. And he has completely failed. And that has resulted in a $100,000 loss for those selling their homes. And it's probably higher for many others as well. So keep that in mind. You don't want an idiot like that in control of anything. So as he has failed his state and as he flees his state because he can no longer face the issues that he has created, he cannot solve them. So he's thinking that running away and turning his back and running for president is somehow going to solve that. Fuck that guy. Do not even look at him. Do not even acknowledge him. Do not even pretend he holds any sort of semblance of authority, of authenticity, of trustworthiness. He's a common thug. He's scum. $100,000 down the drain if you are a homeowner. So if you're not, don't worry. You're going to be losing plenty of money too when he's in charge. And with that, let's see. Oh, I mentioned the finance and maneuver chats and trying to plan a meetup. Does anyone know of a spot in the Midwest? It could be, it doesn't need to be a range. It doesn't need to be a training facility. I mean, I'd prefer it to be one of those two so that the guys could get out and, maybe run drills, maybe shoot trash, just somehow better ourselves. If you know any place like that that can accommodate, half a dozen or so guys to go out and shoot or train or get, led through a class, please let me know. That's reputable. I've done some research. Everything either seems super fuddy or like on the level of Detroit urban survival, which I actually don't live too far from, ironically enough. Would love to get the guys out, but I couldn't find anything that seemed legit enough. So if you see anything, let me know. Would love to get the fellas out there. We'll get the fellas together, help build that community. Vet out any glowy boys too, maybe. Oh, I wanted to make a note because in my episode about mortgages and Marxism, I believe I went on and said that it was Bill Maher, I believe, who went on the Colbert Show and completely blew up the lab leak theory. It was not, in fact, Bill Maher. It was Jon Stewart. Um, but and I'm pretty sure I said Maher in that episode. The only reason I'm correcting myself now is that Maher recently went on Rogan. I need to stop hitting this mic, damn it. I'm going to move my arm so I don't do that again. And shared some interesting talking points. There's a lot of anti-government, a lot of anti-pharma, anti-whatever it is, anti-state talking points and sound bites that he created. But there was a general disinterest in changing the status quo or shaking things up or doing things differently. It seemed he had every bit of faith in the government, in Joe Biden, in all this other stuff. And oh, well, Joe Biden was clearly the best alternative. He just, that sort of mindset. I don't like that sort of mindset because, like, yes, I do believe America is the best, country on the planet. We are still the freest for now. But it doesn't mean I can't have a massive problem with how things are being done, or I can't say that things are fucked or things are broken and that we should try something different in the interest of becoming better and being the best we possibly can be. I didn't get that from him. I saw a very heels in the ground, I like it this way, I'm comfortable with Joe Biden. So almost like he voted for him because I feel like I can get a beer with him sort of thing. Sam Adams came up with that index, by the way, the beer drinkability index for choosing a presidential candidate. So fuck Sam Adams, I guess, for ruining the way we elect presidents based on popularity now. Matt Taibbi in Hate Inc. actually writes about that. So give that book a read if you want. It's a great book. You'll hate the news so much more after you read it. But yeah, I just wanted to call that out. I feel like I kind of put him up on a pedestal when, probably, you shouldn't put anyone up on a pedestal really, but I wanted to make that clarification because I was listening to him and I was going, um, this doesn't sound like the same guy who just completely shit on Colbert, and so it wasn't. So I had to amend that. But I still think, if you're planning on listening to it for whatever reason, still listen to it. It's important to hear different perspectives. For no other reason, at a minimum, it's a good exercise to be able to listen to things objectively without emotion. So give it a listen if you're planning on doing so. Um, oh yeah, I got a new Vortex 1 to 8 LPVO. I threw it up for sale in the shop, selling it for about $100 off retail, scope rings included, free shipping. I got it, just for a good deal. And I figured, well, I bought it for another rifle, and figured, you know what, I'm not going to use this actually. I didn't want to go through returning it. So I figured, you know what, I might as well put this in the hands of another civilian who would like to use this very nice optic actually on a rifle build of theirs. So LPVOs up for sale with rings, $100 off the retail of them together. Um, so go check that out if you'd like it. Free shipping. There's no coupon. There's no nothing. You get the deal. You get the free shipping as it is. And I'm also going to be playing around with some custom painted AR-15 mags as well. I just bought a handful of the USGI like metal surplus mags. I think those are a pretty cool vibe. So I'm going to be playing around with painting those. Likely some multicam pattern with some maybe spicy text on them. So look forward to those being posted here. I know I've teased shirt pre-orders here. I just don't know if economically it makes sense at the time. So I'm probably going to hold off on the shirt pre-orders for a while, just until, I continue growing a little bit more. And I know that I'm not going to completely lose my ass on making shirts while being able to charge a reasonable amount. I can do it, but like $30+ on a shirt seems ridiculous to me, and I don't want to scalp people like that, especially right now. Your money is much better spent on, groceries, rent, saving up for something else. So I, in good faith, cannot offer the shirt at the price tag that I would like to. So holding off for now on that. I have some pretty good ideas though. I've been playing around with some ones around the election, playing around with some designs, especially around the Wuhan flu talks coming back up. So keep an eye out for the mags, the shirts. The Vortex LPVO is up on the site already. And the last thing is, I've been kicking around the idea about selling my bike maybe. I do that as we're in the fall season here. We do love the fall in the Midwest. It allows you to carry pretty large guns underneath your flannels and jackets and whatnot. Um, but as you know, it gets a little cooler. The bike becomes a little bit less of an option. It's fine now. We're still getting plenty of 70, 60-degree days. It's actually perfect weather. You can throw on jeans and a hoodie and ride the bike, and it's a vibe. You feel great. You're not sweating. You're not too cold though. As it gets 50 and below, it's not really an option to ride the bike. And so we don't have the full year-round option to ride the bike. I can't ride the bike as much as I'd like to in the States. So I've been kicking around the idea of selling it and buying something a little more fun. I thought about maybe a Corvette, like a C5 Corvette. I'm a sucker for flip headlights. But recently I've been dragged down the rabbit hole of like old Porsches, specifically like the 944s. I used to park next to a guy at work who had a beautiful red one, had aftermarket wheels, tires, mud flaps, and a roof rack. And it was a pretty cool vibe to see sort of ripping around the city. Um, there's actually a 944, not about an hour from my location, just over the state border, that has a V8 swap done, GM, like a 350, I believe, in it. And I said, that's kind of cool. It's got like the hood cut out for the breather up top, which is very wild looking. It looks pretty clean too, honestly. So I'm probably going to give that a look in the next week or so here. And as I've fallen down the 944 rabbit hole, I have found that there are safari kits and safari builds you can do with them, and I really fucking like that. So we'll see. Planning on the idea of selling my bike. Let me know if I should sell the bike. Let me know if a 944 is an absolute fucking terrible idea. I know it's a Porsche. I know it's an old Porsche, so it's not going to be completely reliable. But again, this is my fun car. The bike is already a fun vehicle, so looking to replace it with something else fun. So yeah, give me your thoughts on that. Let me know how terrible of an idea that is. And the reason I sort of brought that up towards the end here is that we talk about a lot of news, talk about guns and stuff, a lot. But it's important to have hobbies, guys. It's important to go outside, to touch grass, to go gym, to do things other than get sucked into this rabbit hole of bad news, to be terminally online, to exist for the very moment for when you will have to actually use your guns, because you are a miserable person at that point. I believe, you know, we know so many people who are like that, who are just waiting for the apocalypse, who are just waiting for things to go south. And things are already pretty tough, I think, in the world. Things are pretty ugly if you're paying any attention to the news, which is hard to do. And as much as I would hate to do it, I wouldn't be very good at this, I feel like. So that's just my take. But sort of compounding that would just be to be the prepper, the doomsdayer sort of mentality. Don't do that. I've gone over why it's a bad idea. You look ridiculous, one, and two, no one will take you seriously. You're just an extremist, at that point, and you just completely get written off as a lunatic. But more importantly for yourself, it's just not healthy either. So, find hobbies, go out, have fun, build your community, but be responsible too, Still go to the gym, still practice, dry fire, doing drills, don't just be terminally online, is what I'm trying to say. So I have cars, I have motorcycles, just more expensive hobbies on top of guns. So maybe I should probably change those up a little bit, honestly, but they do kind of go hand in hand. And I guess that makes sense for the car guys to sort of be on the same page as the gun guys because they want to take away both of our passions, both of our interests. Damn, can you imagine a gun and car show? That would be, well, they already had those in Chicago and Detroit, I know. So, but imagine like an actual like nice one. That'd be kind of cool. Maybe we'll do that. Honestly, there's an opportunity there, I think. I'll write that down. But yeah, have hobbies, have fun. No, that's the entire purpose of this life, enjoy it, find your purpose, live responsibly, but you can still have fun. You can still do stupid stuff with friends. You can still go out. But just like being terminally online, don't make that the only thing you do either, because then it's not healthy. So that's all I wanted to say about, that's sort of how I wanted to conclude it here as I went over a lot of negative sort of news, but that's just the news. It's never going to be positive. It's informational. And most of the time when something causes a headline, it's always ugly. So that's just the nature of the beast, though. That's the rock we have to push. That's the burden we have to bear as dirty civilians, as responsible owners, as the Full Metal family. That's just simply what we have to do. So I think that's how I'm going to conclude it. A little bit of a shorter episode this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the holiday Labor Day weekend that we just had. Sorry for no video. Again, was not happy with the context of it. But until next week, enjoy, touch grass. Hopefully, you can enjoy some more warmer days here as we venture into the fall. And again, if you know of any shooting spots in the Midwest that are decent, please let me know. And let me know your thoughts on the 944. Looking forward to hearing from you guys and talking to you next week. Thank you.